Hello and welcome to Busy Healing. My name is Thomas and today I want to talk to you about spiritual animal guides. As the term suggests, they are spiritual guides that come in the shape and form of animals. Before we talk any further about this, I wanted to point something out. There seems to be loads of different descriptions for different things, and I'm sure people don't pay attention all that much to it. So whatever they say really isn't necessarily wrong. But I wanted to make a distinction here between spiritual animal guides, power animals, and totem animals. The idea is that as your life changes, your guide changes, and that's where the spiritual animal guides come in. So they are all around you, and then you have permanent animal guides, which we call power animals. And there's a different way, a very shamanic journey to find them. Obviously, there's loads of different meditations, but I this is a completely different topic to spiritual animal guides in a way. So we're not going to be talking about your permanent ones, which are called power animals. And then you have totem animals, which basically means it's the guide or the animal guide that is part of your tribe slash family. So that's completely different. So what we're going to talk about today is spiritual animal guides, what they are, who has got them, why are they here, all these kind of things. Well, the idea is that every sentient being is surrounded by their own guides. And they could be angelic, they could be fairies, they could be all sorts of things. And certainly there are spiritual animal guides as well. And we will actually do a little meditation later where we invite them in and then see who is coming forward for you today. So that's one of the most important things. How this works is, I often say this to people when they come to me for anything really, especially when it comes to animal guides. I always ask them, have you noticed any animals over the last couple of days that you usually wouldn't have noticed? So excluding their pets. And a lot of people say to me like, oh yeah, wow, I had this squirrel show up, or I saw, three dead foxes on the way, all this kind of stuff. And how this works is, these are all clear messages from your guides. The animal in question, which means the deceased fox or the squirrel that is out there, or magpies, in all these things that people would notice. These animals are not necessarily aware that the universe has sent them there for you to see them, to then deduct messages from them. Nonetheless, once you recognize and realize that there's a connection, you have to thank them for showing up. So that's another important thing to realize, that there's communication all around you at all times. And one of the things, for instance, when with regards to the squirrel, we will be talking about their messages a bit more in depth. But I have to say this. Obviously, it will be very, very what's the word? Very there. Incomplete was the word I was looking for. Simply because, yes, they do have generic messages because they communicate by just being. So their shape and form and what type of animal it actually is tells you something already. But these are your guides, so they have very personal messages for you, and they will be able to communicate this to you depending on how open you are to communicating. And also, you have to really pay attention. How this works is, guides, and it doesn't really matter if they're animal guides or whatever guides they are older than language. So therefore, oftentimes they talk to you in symbolism. And you have all seen this before. A lot of people have said, oh, or seen, oh, there's a feather falling down in front of me. And they associate this with someone, in heaven, as they call it, is looking out after them. Other people say like, oh, that's my guides communicating to me, and yeah, absolutely, that's how it works. So you see things and then eventually put them together. Um, but with regards to animal guides, they can really communicate their messages into your thought. And the easiest way to go about it is like anything else. It's like trying to have a conversation with them. The downside is that a lot of people think they have guides and therefore they work for them. This is not quite true. They are your guides. You can't really annoy them as such, but you have free will. So if you have negative energy on the day and you go like, oh, it's all horrible. I don't want to be here. I need to know what to do. They can't really show you what to do. They can only show you where at this point in time, this point of your energy, at this point in time that you express yourself, what you would thrive in the best. So the easiest way is always to say to them like, show me. Because as you know, a good teacher only shows you where to look, but not what to look for. So you have to understand this, that if you're looking for quick fixes, your guides will not provide them, simply because your life is a journey, and how you get there in the end is your free will. And there's loads of things that we call cornerstone events that need to happen or ought to happen for you to grow. And your guides in the universe will make sure, or try to make sure, that you get there in the end. But still, it is all your journey, and you could take detours, because you have that right, so to speak. So that's important to just understand this, that once you don't talk to them, they will continue to try to support you, and they will support you. But at the same time, especially animal guides, animal guides are still animals. So in their by default, they wouldn't put their paw on a hot stove a second time. That's really just human. So when you go into a relationship and you can't ask them, will this work this time around? Because it hasn't been decided yet. Who knows if it works this time around? It has to do with you, and usually it takes two to tango, right? And at the same time, if they feel that your energy hasn't changed, or the energy of the person that you were with, they would show you that as far as they're concerned, at this point in time there is no change, and yet still it would have to be your decision, right? So that's just one scenario. And then the other thing is, obviously, once you have a guide, you will not walk into so many difficulties, because they will obviously show you where to go, what to do. In that sense, they will be guiding you, hence the word guides. And once you're really in tune with them, life gets easier, absolutely. At the same time, you are very much less understanding to people that are not on your page. And that makes sense, because when you exchange people for people who are more like you manifest people that are more like you. So there's loads of things that will happen as you work with your animal guides, right? So let's do a little meditation, just to find them. I mentioned power animals earlier. What we usually do is, in shamanism we have three worlds, and every world and each world are similarly as powerful. So there's no judgment in the lower world being less, for instance, than the middle world. So not at all. But in the lower world, you would meet your permanent power animals, and we would do a very specific journey for this. And very likely this will be a later video. Likely, not making any promises. But for now, let's just look at how you actually can find your animal guides that are around you right now. And here is why this is important and why this can be overwhelming. You have to understand it this way. These guides have been around you throughout all your existence. All the lifetimes that you have lived, they were there, hoping that one day you would recognize them. Now is the time that you recognize them. So oftentimes you open that door, and all of those who have been waiting to give you a message, even though their messages are always about the now, but it will very likely be more than one animal, will come rush to you. And you go like, whoa, hang on a second here. Right? So what we do is we isolate, identify the one that is the closest to you in that sense as being the most prominent for your growth right now. Easiest way is this. You sit on the floor, or you sit in a chair, have your feet firmly on the ground, and then instead of sort of doing something shamanic where we go, through a crack in the ground or something, I would take it really, really simple. And what you do is you close your eyes and you envision yourself in a forest. Close your eyes and envision yourself in a forest. And once you understand that you're in the forest, allow yourself to hear the birds, take a deep breath, feel the sun coming to the trees. All these things. Just allow yourself to fully be immersed in your environment. And once you feel that you are in the forest, just direct your view slightly downwards, and then you can see a path opening up in front of you. So when you're in the forest, see a path opening up in front of you, and then keep on walking, or walk along the path that is opening up in front of you. And as you walk along the path, you're inviting your animal guides to come in. So as you keep walking, you can see them coming in left and right, or wherever they come into. Sometimes you can't necessarily see them, not everybody sees, but you will be able to hear them. Sometimes people say, well, I just had wings, and they don't see the whole animal as such. It is what it is, and it can improve, and so don't worry about that at all. How this works is, in most cases, you will actually see animals, and sometimes you will find yourself sitting on them, or they're interacting with you, and even the most fierce predators, you will notice that they're in their strengths and they can look rather intimidating, but they are your guides. They're here for you, not against you. So how this works is, you walk along the path and then you allow the guides to come in. And oftentimes, as they come in, they will already give you messages. It could be little words. Also, if you only see the animals, in inverted brackets only, then you need to read up on them. And I will explain this in a minute, what that really means. In order to understand them, you need to know what they're talking about. So, deciphering their language is important too. So what you do is, you walk along the path and then you notice the one or the ones that are closest to you. Notice the one or the ones that are closest to you, because they've got the most messages for you. And what you do then is, as you walk along, you come to a clearing. So envision a clearing and see a massive oak tree. That's what I would do. Just envision a massive oak tree. And this oak tree is inviting you to sit under it and rest. And while you are in this journey, you just sit under the tree and then you observe your animal guides, and especially the ones that are closest to you. And that's how you actually meet them. And what you do then, after a couple of minutes, don't do it too long because it is draining on your energy field. You would get up and you would walk back along the path, and as you walk back into the room, into where you are sitting, you say thank you for them showing up. And then usually what happens is, when you come out and you sort of gather your thoughts, this is when their messages really hit you. They will find a way to communicate with you. My advice to you would be, once you're back, to write everything down and leave the diary open, because the moment you have it open, it means that you really want to understand what has been given to you, and then things will come. And you write them down, and then don't try to make sense of it straight away. Just write it down and see if you can decipher it later. So that's a very, very important thing to do, and a very, very easy way of working. I had planned actually to do two videos, but then I thought, no matter what I do, this is such a massive topic, and there needs to be room for you to not just being told what they do and what they are. There needs to be a lot of space to explore it and to feel it. So I wanted to show you and just tell you a bit about what they stand for generically. And so if you could just come a bit closer, we have these lovely stones here. I don't know if you can see them. And these are all stones that have symbols on them. And I just pick one. And then what you do is, obviously I've been doing this for a long time, so I have certain answers already. But usually you would be drawn to something. You would look at it and be drawn to a specific animal if you work that way. If you say, I want to source a stone, and that animal would tell you a lot. So let's just start with the bear. Can you see the bear? Yeah. Okay, let's just start with the bear. This is interesting that we start with the bear, because in some animals can obviously come in different shapes and forms, and it would be a big difference if you had seen a brown bear or a polar bear. In essence, all bears have to do with femininity, which means either you as a woman, or if you are male, is about your more softer side. So they tell you that you have to really understand that you are number one in your life, because you can be overpowering with regards to the people you care about. That's one thing. So that's sort of one of the things that they're saying to you. Remember, people need to grow themselves. Don't smother them, right? So that's one of the messages that the bear has. And the other one is saying that the way you came here is the way you're supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with you. So bears are really, really important. to understand this. This has to do with understanding that, especially for women that have lived a little, and they felt, a lot of gentlemen have done a lot of damage to them, which is usually the sentence that I hear from my clients. The bear is saying, don't hold anger in, because it will not work, right? And again, like I said, these are just snippets of what they stand for. So you have the bear, then you have the snake, for instance. I don't know if you can see the snake. Right. So the snake is, as you already know, very likely, is the symbol of protection. And when you go to the pharmacy, there's a snake around the cane. So that's always been a sign of health and protection. But it is interesting about these snakes is to understand that sometimes they're very cliche, which means, yes, they shed their skin. So if this is what comes to you, is nothing that's important. Whatever the snake shows you is what the message is for you. Let's just say you see the snake and the first thing you think about is, oh, it sheds its skin. So then it's logic to just say, oh, shedding my skin. It's time to let stuff go and renew. Right? The other thing about snakes is, and this is why it's important for you to read up on an animal that comes to you reoccurringly, that always shows up, for instance, they usually, oftentimes, need stones to propel them. They don't do so well unless there is some sort of a rocky area where they can actually move through. So loads of them, unless they're sidewinders, which they're called, but loads of them need stones to propel them. So once you have the snake in your life, and you realize that the snake is talking to you, as you go out of your house, watch out for any stone, not a crystal, just any stone that you can find that talks to you. And then keep this somewhere near an altar that you have created, for instance, to get a conversation going with your guides, right? So you have these things. So here's logic like the ant that is saying you are important, and you're not alone, and you are part of a group. So these come to you sometimes when people are feeling isolated, right? And then there are very important and interesting ones, like the rabbit. So the rabbit is not telling you how cute you are, because some people think like, oh yeah, it's only the cute animals. What the rabbit is saying to you is to go into your trust, because you have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes. So this oftentimes comes to you when you feel, should I be moving? Is this job right for me? Right? Should I really try and be self-employed as a healer? So this is how they communicate. It's really, really important, right? And then you have obviously even animals that are seen as being fable, sort of folklore animals. There's always a truth in them. So you have the Pegasus, the horse with the wings. I think it's called a Pegasus. We're not quite sure. But you have the horse. The horse is always the animal that tells you that you have to run free. Also, this goes back then into really Native American symbolism, because the horse is the animal that allowed the Native Americans to really explore their land. So there was a huge contract between the horse and the tribal people, and the abuse started when the horse was used to carry post for them, and being used in some entertainment form. All these things are inherently wrong to anyone who works with animal guides. And so oftentimes you will actually be shown by them where your shortcomings are with regards to not honoring animals. So, but by and large, the main message of the horse has always been to understand this. You need to be free, and even inside your peer groups or your groups, you will have to understand that there will be ranking systems and that things can be tough. So you need to learn to look out for yourself, right? So I do one more because it gets a bit much, I suppose. So here you have the owl. Right, so here you have the owl, and that's quite interesting because absolutely, yes, you heard this before. The owl is about wisdom, and absolutely it is. But please try not to reduce them to one-liners. This is always difficult when you haven't done this right or not enough. People say, oh yeah, it's a butterfly, it means new beginnings, and it does mean new beginnings. But this is by no means the end of the message. So when you look at the owl, it's understanding how they work. Many owls, when you take off the hair, which is called a ruff, they have one ear here and one ear there. What it does is it allows them to draw an auditory map, so they can actually get to the mouse in the undergrowth without actually getting caught in the undergrowth. So and everything starts with observing. What that really means for you is when you pay attention, no matter what obstacles there are, you will not fail. So there's loads of messages. You want one more? I thought so. So then you have let's go, here for the turtle. Aren't they beautiful? So you have the turtle. So that's logic again. You look at the turtle, and one of the main messages would be to learn patience and to not rush things and to understand that you can't run before you can walk, right? And also the passing of time has got nothing to do with you. What that means is no matter what life throws at you, at the end of the day you will always be here because you are immortal. We all are. We all come back time and again. So for people who think, oh, people chase me during the day, I'm really getting, overly excited. The turtle is the animal that says, just slow down. You do not have to adapt and adjust to other people's pace if you don't feel that this is right for you, right? So I hope this somehow helps. I know this sounds a bit incoherent, but this is just how it goes with all these guides. Just remember, please, that you are surrounded by animal guides, and as your life changes, the animal changes. Also, because you work with animals, which would be beings that need to trust you first before they really communicate. Don't rush them into anything. Don't be overly excited around them. Just acknowledge them and be in your strengths. So that's what I would do. That's why actually it's the reason why I sent you into the forest, because the calmness of the forest and the soil beneath your feet allows you to walk slowly and not be alarmed and like, oh my God, all these animals show up, right? Because it can be overwhelming. Right, so anyway, that's all we have time for. I understand that you will have loads of questions underneath the YouTube thing. I'm not so sure I can answer them all, but I will do my best. Right? Yeah, that's all we have time for. See you next time.